Hey guys, and welcome back to Regrexit, Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, it seems that Labour have lost Uxbridge. The Tories have seized upon the opportunity to start rolling back on some green policies. Donald Trump has new charges. Joe Biden trolls Marjorie Taylor Greene in the wickedest way possible. And nearly 80% of the people in this country are not happy with the way how the country is run. And that's because Britain is a xenophobic, bigoted, racist shithole. With Nigel Farage as the kingmaker. With a failing NHS, more food banks than McDonald's, a cost of living crisis, utility cost highest in Europe, petrol and diesel more than double the price it is in the USA, and Nigel Farage is the kingmaker. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. Special thanks to everybody who signed up our channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages with definite. So Labour, I did say, that Labour had a very good chance of losing Uxbridge. Not losing it. Well, they did lose it, actually, because, they was bang on to win it. I mean, they would have won it hands down. Had it not been for the fact that, Labour are not out there for the working class people. I don't know who they're out there for, but it's certainly not for the working classes, because right now, they are helping to batter the working classes, right? And, the worst thing Labour could have done, right, is allow the Tories to get them in this checkmate. How they couldn't have seen this coming is just unbelievable. And now the Tories have absolutely flipped the script and just flipped over on them. You know what? Look at the Labour Party. They want to charge you £12.50 when you have to take your little kiddies to the Cubs, right? Or to the Brownies, right? Or or you want to take your children swimming, right? Or, you've got to take Nan to the hospital. Right? The Tories are just working this so well, rolling back on most of their green policies. They're rolling back, and they're still saying, "Well, listen, we're going to get to net zero." But I mean, the truth is this. Right, this is an oil-based world, and to make all the equipment to get to net zero, you're going to need oil to do that anyway. Right, so it's not like the world is going to stop using oil just like that, right? It's same with when it comes to cars, because the Tories have now come out and said, well, we are behind the motorist, which is not very good, right? For the whole environment thing, but it is good for votes. And that's what you've got to understand about the Tories. The only thing the Tories are interested in is votes. There's nothing else. They're not interested in anything else. They're just interested in votes and power. And that is why they will just flip right round, right? A 180, right, on the ULEZ. And just blame Labour for the ULEZ, right, that Boris Johnson started. And I'm watching all these pundits, right? I'm listening to all these pundits. I'm watching all these people on Twitter saying, well, it's Boris Johnson, isn't it? I'm saying to them, listen, if you're stupid enough, right, to try and use that argument, right, then you know what? You're going to lose. Okay, that's what you're going to do. I'm not saying that Labour won't win the next election, but they're giving the Tories a good chance, right, of actually gain some seats off them, lose a lot, but actually gain some where they're not supposed to, right? And the thing with the Tories now, is the Tories would have to get enough for a majority, right, to get back, because there's no one in Parliament that would go into coalition with them again. There's no one at all that would. The DUP. Even though those people don't understand politics, I don't think they'd get back into the bed with the Tories. They'd be really stupid. And again, they do very stupid things like listen to leprechauns. So I could imagine the DUP would be like, I'm thinking about it now. Do you know what I mean? And just probably think, it might be a good idea. And, so you just can never tell because these people, they don't understand politics. And look what the Tories already done to them. So they might be, I don't know. But there's no one else that would go into bed with the Tories at all under any circumstances. Right, so Labour, right, have made the biggest mistake by giving the Tories an out, and they've seen now what's happened in Uxbridge, because the problem is that the ULEZ is really hurting people, and what's going to happen is all people who are driving ULEZ friendly cars and electric and hybrids and all this type of thing. People that are driving those cars, right, they don't understand yet, right, that these cameras, right, are pay by mile cameras. That's what they're really set up for. Because why would you set up £100 million system, right, just for a couple of years or whatever? Because remember, it's only till come 2030, right, there's going to be much more electric and hybrids and all that on the road anyway, because they're going to stop selling petrol and diesel cars anyway. So, and that's if that date does come true. But it doesn't really make any sense that they spend all of that money, right, just to catch a few cars, right? Especially when it's not going to be not that long before much more people are using the newer technology anyway. So there's a reason behind it, and now Labour, right, are getting the Tories are putting it all on Labour, that Labour want to spread these cameras all around the country, because that's what the eventual thing is. Because remember, come 2030, right, when much more people are using the new technology, there's going to be a lot less people buying petrol and diesel. So therefore, there is hundreds of billions of pounds that they're going to be losing out of the economy, because obviously 3/4 of your tank of petrol and diesel is taxes. So therefore, right, they need to claw that money back in, and the only way they'll be able to do that is pay per mile. Even though and it's going to cost you, because from what I know about these electric filling points so far, they're very expensive, right? So obviously it's virtually going to be near enough double whammy for them, because they're going to charge you to drive on the roads. Yeah, so price per mile, and then obviously whack up the especially when you go to one of those places overnight and charge up. But then you see, if you're charging up at your house overnight, then it's that's when that's why they want the real road pricing, because they're not going to be able to catch everybody in those electric filling stations, whereas they do catch every single petrol and diesel driver. So Labour, I did say that there's a good chance that Labour would not take Uxbridge away from the Tories, and it would be down to the ULEZ. So, between Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer, they really need to come up with something much better, because right now, there's a lot of people say, I will never, ever vote for the Labour Party again because of the ULEZ. And you've got people who are going to actively vote for the Tories to get Sadiq Khan out. So, they're taking their chance in their own hands. But then Labour did bring in one of the youngest MPs into the House of Commons, right? And he looks like absolutely does look like a child, because he's 25 years old, right? But Keir, what's his name? Keir something. Right, and obviously, the people have voted him in, so then he deserves his spot to be the baby of the house, which is like, I think David Lammy was like something like 27 or something like that when he went in. Do you know what I mean? So, it's not really, it's not really that unusual, really. And then we did have Pip the Younger, so he was on a virtually a child when he was Prime Minister. And the Lib Dems took Somerton and Frome in the West Country. So the Tories, they held on to one seat, which obviously Rishi Sunak was really pleased about, because he was expecting to lose all three, right? Even with the ULEZ process, because there was only 500 and something votes in it, right? But even with that, Rishi Sunak was expecting to lose all three. So you could imagine the glee which has led now the Tories to start rolling back on a lot of their green policies, because now the Tories looking at this and saying, well, you know what, yeah, they've just issued, I think, 100 new licenses to drill for oil. And now I think that there's a lot of pressure being put upon Tory ministers over the cost of green energy, because the truth is, right, the people of this country cannot afford this. Right. So there's going to have to be a lot of government help. But already with how our government works, they will set up one of these some type of green company, and then in a couple of years they'll be like, oh, can we sell that? So that's what they'll do anyway. But the Tories, whatever the case is now, right, the Tories have seen there's an opportunity to get a few votes from rolling back on a lot of these green issues. And, a lot of the backbench Tories are really pushing this as well, right? I saw a housing development the other day, right? And when I just had a proper look at this housing development. All the houses that they're building, yeah, none of them got solar panels on them. None of them got heat pumps or nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? Say, well, why would? But you see, the reason why they would build houses, they're still building houses without all those things, yeah, is because the house prices in this country are so overpriced, right? They're so far overpriced that we've had a 4% drop in house prices, which in the great scheme of things is absolutely nothing, especially when houses are, I'd say between 30 and 70% overpriced, right? So, so as you can see, 4% is absolutely nothing. But that's what we've got. We've got a completely overpriced housing market, right? And then you've got them talking about all this green nonsense. Sorry, not green nonsense, because it's that makes me sound like I'm a climate change denier, and I'm not one of those. But they're talking about all these green policies, right? But they're still letting builders put houses up in this country without solar panels and without heat pumps in the gardens, right? And that's simply because the builders, right, still want to just maximize their profits, and they know that if we have to put heat pumps in because the house prices are so overpriced, right, it's not going to be beneficial to us. But we're not going to be able to charge any more, because obviously house prices are dropping down now, so they're not going to be able to charge any more, right? And because they've been so used to making probably if they put up a brand new house for say for 200 grand, right, they're probably looking at making 75 grand to 100 grand in profit from putting up a house for two. I mean, so that's the profit margin they're really looking at, and obviously their profit margin should be quite a bit lower than that. It should be in like it should be in the tens of thousands, not in the scores of thousands, right? It should be their profit margin on that should be 50,000 and under. That's where their profit margin should be. Their profit margin shouldn't be £100,000 on a 250 grand house. So because after that now, yeah, if you expect them to put things like solar panels up, they're literally doing it at their own expense, right? So now they're not going to put those things up because they didn't budget for those things in the first place, right? So now the builders in this country, I mean, they have got themselves in this position because a lot of those are the people who push the house prices, them and the estate agents, and obviously the government have just allowed them to do it. But they are the people who have done this. Do you know what I mean? And now, right, as I said, right, I've seen how they're still building, right? And we know what kind of future that we're facing. And, it would be good that every single brand new house had solar panels on it. I mean, this should have been going on for the last 10 years anyway. But every single new house had solar panels on it and heat pumps because, these are things what the government are telling us that we're going to need. So why haven't they got all the building companies to do that immediately? And that's because they don't really want to. But let's move over to America, because Donald Trump has had more charges thrown at him. He's had a target letter, and a couple of the people that he employs have had charges brought against them, especially one who has been found to have told by Donald Trump to get rid of the hard drive. This is after the grand jury had subpoenaed the hard drive so that they could have a look at the activities that was going on in Mar-a-Lago, and Donald Trump has instructed this guy to get rid of it. He's went and spoke to the IT bloke, and the IT bloke has said to him, "No, listen, we can't do that." And now, what's happened there is obviously Jack Smith, the prosecutor, must have spoken to the guy that Donald Trump asked to do it, and then and that guy obviously has lied to him. And Jack Smith would have said to him, "Listen, don't lie to me, because if you lie to me, right, I will bring charges against you." And but then obviously he spoke to the IT guy, and now the IT guy has said to him, "Listen, he come to me and asked me to delete it," and I said to him, "Nope, can't do that." So that guy, right, has just come out and he's just told. So that's why this guy has been charged, because he's lied to the special investigator, which is obviously it's a criminal offence. So you can't do that. Right, so those are going to stem with the new charge with Donald Trump, and obviously then you've got Fannie Willis coming at the end of August, which Donald Trump is now using the excuse, "Why is it taking so long?" That's the excuse he's using, and you know me already. I would have had Donald Trump locked up on the 7th of January. That's when he would have been locked up from, and he would have been making his pleas, right, from a prison cell. That's where he would have been making his pleas, right? There's no way that man should have been out all this time. And now he can actually start to, well, why is it taking so long? That's why I can tell you it's a witch hunt. And Joe Biden has absolutely made an absolute fool of Marjorie Taylor Greene, because he just used her words that she said about him when she was mentioned that he was... what president was it? She related him to one of the presidents before, who had a real social conscience, right? And Joe Biden has just used Marjorie Taylor's words and put it in his own advert, and it just really sounds. When I say it sounds really good. Just listening to some of the stuff what she said about about education and healthcare and all these things, right? She's trying to say it's a bad thing, but most people I think would think a nation having a nation of educated people is a better thing, and a nation of healthy people is a good thing. And the Republicans are making themselves into some of the world's most stupid people, because they've got these hearings going on for Hunter Biden. And I mean, their big witness yesterday, just went in there and said, "Listen, Hunter Biden, right, used to give an appearance that he's got Joe Biden behind him with certain stuff, but this witness just said, but he's never actually had Joe Biden behind him with anything." I mean, when Hunter Biden would phone Joe Biden, right, when he's in a meeting with some other people, and they would just sit there and they would just talk about like the weather and Hunter Biden's kids in front of all these people, right? But just so he could have the appearance, "Oh, my dad's a congressman, and everything's going to be good, yeah." Right? So that's what Hunter Biden was doing. Do you know what I mean? And Hunter Biden is not really like a good person. Do you know what I mean? It's guns and drugs and all sorts of different stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it being a part of a company that ripped off some Native Americans and all these type of things. Do you know what I mean? So Hunter Biden is not really a good person, but that doesn't mean, right, that Joe Biden's involved in anything that he does. Do you know what I mean? So the Republicans are making themselves just, yes, I saw Jim Jordan. This is a man who stood by, right, while children was being molested while he was a wrestling coach or something like that. But anyway, Jim Jordan, he's the one who's holding all of the committee meetings, right? And yesterday, after their star witness, because that Hunter Biden partner was their star witness, and he just come and just like just made them look really stupid, right? So I've never seen a man, right, just run away from the cameras so fast because, it just comes down to, this is just, it's, I was going to say it was a witch hunt, but that's like Donald Trump's thing. But anyway, let's move back over to the UK. Well, actually, this is a bit of a worldwide story there because actors were on strike and everyone's saying like, so who gives a shit? Because nobody actually cares that the actors are on strike. You know why? Because we can watch all of their shit on reruns, right? So nobody actually cares. But actors are on strike. I don't know, but so. And then we've got the in this country we've got the teachers who have just accepted 6% after all this time. They've just accepted 6.5% or something like that. So I say, okay, fair enough. I mean, inflation's 8 points or 7.9 or something like that, but they've just accepted 6%. And let's speak about some Brexit, because the flagship Brexit trade deal with the Pacific, the Pacific Partnership, has no economic benefits to the UK. That's the one that they're pushing and saying, yeah, look us, we're just joining this flagship Pacific Partnership. And it has no economic benefits to the UK at all. Because, I mean, it's it's just a big joke, really. And then Argentina and the EU have been sticking it to us because they've decided they've got some type of deal with Argentina, the EU, and they've decided they're going to call the Falkland Islands the Malvinas Islands. I say, how dare you? Right? You see, right, the EU, how vindictive these people really are, right? Because they know, right, and you've got British diplomats, right, absolutely banging their hands on desks, right? They're twiddling knobs and pulling ropes. And where are they going to get? Nowhere. You know why? They're not in the room. They're not in the room to have said, you know what? What's that? Let's scribble that out, yeah? Tipex that out. Tipex that out and put Falkland Islands in there. But they're not there to do that. They can't do that because you can only do that, right, if you're in the room. You can't do that via a phone call. The man was like, yes, we'll change that for you. Don't worry. Don't you dare worry. British, English people, don't worry. We have your back. And they put the phone down. And then when you look at the paperwork, you say, Malvinas, how dare they? They told us they was going to change us. But once you're not in the room, there's nothing you can do. I mean, what are you going to do? You're not in the room. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. Okay? So that's the reason why they can do these things and because you know what? It's a matter of sovereignty. And they've taken ours. So much of it. And we want it back. We got it back. But the only thing is, right, we had to give loads of it back to them and say to them, well, you can have this much. How stupid can you be, huh? UK fishermen are complaining that they can only collect 50% of their quota. And look at those. Those are some of the people who really pushed for Brexit, pushed it through, pushed. Look at that, only 50% of their quota. And by the time, right, they can collect 100% of their quota, it's going to be too late because, they're going to be out of business. And that's the problem. And then setting back up all of these businesses will be so expensive, you see, because that's the thing, once you close down, to set back up again is like, virtually double the cost, unfortunately. And do you think all our ports will be blocked up? Because, we're in August now. Today's August the 1st. So do you think all our ports are going? Of course they're going to be all blocked up. Because, the EU are going to get even more, I've used the word already, vindictive and evil, right? And we know what it is? It's a protectionist racket. That's what the EU is. Jacob Rees-Mogg was absolutely right. That's what the EU is. It is a protectionist racket, right? And we are happy to be out. And that's why we're complaining about the Malvinas Islands. And that's why we can't do anything about it. But I'm sure we all knew what we was voting for when you voted for Brexit. A lot less Brits are buying houses in Europe now because obviously, there's different rules when you travel into the EU, a certain amount of days, and, you're probably going to have to get citizenship for one, if you want to live in Spain or France or something like that, you probably have to go and give up your British citizenship, unless you could be a dual citizen. But you're probably going to give up your citizenship to, if you want to stay there, more than what is it, 30 days? How much ever days it is? I can't remember what it is now. But so if you want to stay there more than that time, then you're probably going to have to give up your citizenship. And whether or not British people actually want to do that, don't know. They may well do. They might not. The UK has had to backtrack on the EU safety mark thing. Because remember Britain was saying, no, we're leaving the EU and we're going to have our own safety mark. And people like me, right, was saying, that's really stupid, right? You to actually believe what these people are telling you. Because you can have your own safety mark. You can have it as much as you want. You can have 2 on there. You can have 2 safety marks on there that says, you know what, this is a double safety mark to say that the England and the UK, Britain, is safe. But who gives a shit? No one else gives a shit. Because you know what? To get your stuff into the EU, right, you need to use their safety mark. See, have you just seen a load of sovereignty just crumble right in front of you and just say, well, actually, he's right. Because doesn't matter what safety mark you want to use in this country, but when you want to get goods into their market, you use their safety mark. And if they say to you, pins and needles and all your soap bars, right, every shoe that you make, right, has to have a stone or a pebble in it. Right? So you have to make tea, and say only tea and coffee is made with soapy water. Then you have to adhere to those rules. They might be stupid on the outlook to you, but for them it makes perfect sense. Right? And you just have to do at what they say, and that goes with the safety mark. Right? How Britain was talking, we'll have our own safety mark. We'll do our own, have our own safety mark. Everything that Britain was saying before. We'll have our own horizon system, and they're still begging to get back into theirs. All of these things, right? Britain said, we're going to have our own. There was a space, one of the space programs, isn't it? That they said, we're going to, we'll do our own. And so, well, really? No, they want to begging to get back into the EU's. Right? And what these motherfuckers have been doing, right, is the EU just had to slap Britain down and just say, listen, you know something, yeah? To all the EU countries, ignore the UK. Just ignore them. Because how dare you, right, try and go behind the back of the EU to try and speak to all these countries individually. Because that's what Britain's been doing, is trying to speak to all these countries individually so they could get some type of trade deal with all these countries individually and saying, well, and the EU's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You know how the system works. The system doesn't work in the way how that's what Donald Trump done. Donald Trump was like to Angela Merkel had to tell him 27 times. It might have been slightly less, but let's just go 27. She has to tell him 27 times, the EU does not work like that, you damn fool. I put the last bit on. But Angela Merkel had to tell him that. The EU don't work like that. And Britain have been trying to go behind the EU's back right now. And the EU just said, box, right in the back of the head. Right? And when Britain won't listen, right, in the kisser. So say, shut up. Right? And then they just told the rest of the EU countries, do not deal with them damn idiots. Anyway, my friends, I'm back from just over a week off. And today, obviously, is the 1st of August. So, my friends, that's why this video's a bit longer. But, my friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.